What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today I'm counting down the top 10 Adidas Yeezys of 2019. I know this might seem to some like a weirdly specific top 10 video, and maybe it doesn't, but the reason that I'm doing this is because this is the first video in a new sort of short series of top 10 videos counting down to the sneaker of the year. So this first one is obviously the top 10 Yeezys of the year, and then we're gonna have the top 10 Air Jordans of the year, and then the top 10 sneakers of the year, etc. And it should be a lot of fun. 2019 has been an insane year for sneakers, crazier than I ever could have expected, and because of that I feel like it's almost necessary to have this many top 10 videos because there have been that many good sneakers releasing. On the flip side of the coin though, because there are so many releases, there were so many great shoes that just didn't make it on any top 10 lists. I'm actually considering doing like a top 10 honorable mention list, which I know is another top 10 list which will exclude more sneakers, but I feel like there are some shoes that just didn't quite make it on some lists that I feel like deserve to be on some sort of list at least. I like lists, I don't know. With all that said, this list is specifically about Adidas Yeezy shoes that dropped in 2019, and there have been a lot. So what I've done is I've ranked the top 10 based on influence, popularity, my own personal opinion, and also how much I think that they changed the landscape of the Yeezy lineup. So this list is based heavily on my own opinions and not specific sales numbers or anything like that. So I would love to know your thoughts on this list in the comment section down below as we go along. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Number 10, the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Cloud White. The Cloud White 350 V2s are the epitome of a clean and simple GR Yeezy Boost 350 V2 that a lot of people still want. The colorway of this shoe was a clean white and blue that still made the sneaker stand out from some of the previous releases, but wasn't too bright or too out there so that you could pretty much wear it with anything. The Cloud Whites were also one of the first 350 V2s to feature dual colored paneling, or almost a what the look, on the lateral side of the sneaker. It's one of those 350 V2s, one of those rare 350 V2s where everyone seemed to agree that it was a good looking sneaker and that you could pretty much wear it in any situation. And because of that, a lot of people wanted it, and even though it was a very widespread release, it still sold out very quickly and is still reselling relatively decently. Number 9, the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Black Reflective. The end of 2018 was the first time that we ever saw reflective versions of 350 V2s release, and in 2019 it looks like almost every single pair of 350 V2s has had a reflective version. Usually the reflective variant of the 350 V2s are much more limited than the standard version, and they also go for a lot more money on the resale market. And let's be honest, the only real difference besides quantity is the 3M that's woven into the upper, and that's it. I do feel like this is Adidas and Kanye's way of trying to appease people who want more limited Yeezys that they can resell, and also giving people who just want a pair of Yeezys a pair of Yeezys. It's not a bad way of doing it. It's almost like creating a chase variant of these Yeezy sneakers. I just feel like they could have been more exciting with some of the things that they did differently. Rather than just throwing 3M on all their slightly more limited shoes, maybe you throw on a different colorway, maybe like a friends and family variant or something like that. I don't know, just something more interesting than just 3M. That said, I do feel like a few of the 3M variants are pretty nice looking, in particular the 350 V2 Black Reflective. The reason I put this version on the list, besides the fact that I like it the best out of all the 3M versions, is because it also seems like the most popular and the most coveted. Even though there are a ton of pairs of black 350 V2s, that's still one of the most popular Yeezys that came out this year. So I guess it just makes sense that the reflective version would be more popular as well. And also because they're adding 3M to an already pretty simple upper, I feel like it does give the shoe a little bit more pop. The Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Black Reflective is a solid Yeezy Boost release, and in my opinion, the best reflective colorway to drop. Number 8, the Yeezy Boost 700 Carbon Blue. Since the Wave Runner, there hasn't really been a colorway of the 700s that really captured people's imagination the way that that shoe did. When the Wave Runner first came out, it was a very polarizing shoe. A lot of people liked it, but even more people really didn't like it, or at least they didn't until it started to become popular, and now they all do. Still salty about all those comments in my first Wave Runner video. You guys really hated that shoe. Funny how times have changed. The reason the Carbon Blues sold out so quickly when compared to most other 700 releases this year is because they look like the Wave Runners. Adidas and Yeezy finally gave us a somewhat multicolor 700 again, and I think that's what people really want. They featured the same orange ovals on the midsole and also a multicolor upper. It was a genuinely interesting 700 colorway. It wasn't tan or brown or a shade of gray or black. It was actually something different, and I think that's why so many people liked it. Construction-wise, it's not any different than any of the other 700s. It's not a V2 or even a V3. It's just a 700 V1 colorway done right. Number 7, the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 glow. The reason I felt like this sneaker should be on the list is because, obviously by the name, you know that this is the first Yeezy Boost 350 V2 that glows. Since the mid-2000s, people have been obsessed with glow-in-the-dark sneakers. You've had a ton of Nike sneakers that glowed, you had the Nike Yeezys that all glowed, there was a pair of 750s that some glowed, some didn't, really a weird sort of situation, and now finally we get a pair of 350 V2s that actually glow. The colorway itself was fine, it was sort of like a desaturated neon green, and I think there were actually a lot of people who liked this shoe just because of that colorway and because it was something different for a pair of Yeezys. But let's be honest, the main draw of this shoe was the fact that it glowed. Technically the entire sneaker glows, which I didn't realize when I first did the review because I guess I just didn't charge the upper enough, but according to Yeezy Mafia, who made sure to let me know on Twitter, I was wrong and the entire sneaker glowed. To be honest though, the only part of the shoe that you could really actually notice glow was the midsole and outsole. It was the rubber parts that glowed. The upper, I still don't really see it. I mean, if you take a picture of it, like with some light coming in, then you could sort of see the upper glow, but it's like really dim. It doesn't really count. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is that we actually have a pair of 350 V2s that glow. Number 6, the Adidas Yeezy 700 V3 Azil. Now right out the gate, I gotta say that this sneaker hasn't released yet and I haven't seen it in person yet, so I'm putting it on this list because I think it looks cool. As the name 700 V3 would suggest, this sneaker is the next iteration of the 700. And I think the biggest change from the V1 and V2 to the V3 is that this shoe no longer uses Boost. Instead, it uses some sort of blue foam, which apparently is soft and also still very comfortable. Until I actually get the shoe in hand, which I should have in hand very soon, I'm not sure exactly how it's gonna feel on foot, but I'm really excited to find out. Also, the outer layer of the upper on this shoe actually glows, which I think is pretty cool. The 700 V3 definitely has a much more organic look than I think we're used to with previous 700s, and I'm all about it. I love the 380 Alien, and I think I'm really gonna be excited about the 700 V3 when I finally get a pair in hand. I'm always excited for brand new Yeezy silhouettes, and this 700 V3 release is no different for me. I'm stoked. Number 5, the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Yashil. For months, a lot of people have been asking for new and exciting colorways of the 350 V2s because most of the pairs that we get are a shade of tan. And finally, right at the end of 2019, we're getting a 350 V2 with more than 3 colors on it. The Yashil is sort of like a what the 350 V2, and I really like that about it. It's a really interesting sneaker. The midsole and the outsole of the shoe are plain semi-translucent black, but when you move up on the upper, you've got greens, reds, blues, whites. It's a crazy looking sneaker and I love it. Not only that, but the sock liner of the shoe is kind of like a light pink, which really seems like it's out of left field, but that's an awesome touch. It feels like Kanye and Adidas are finally experimenting with colorways on the 350 V2, and I realize we got colorways like the glows, which to be fair are much more out there than this colorway, but it's nice to see them do something a little bit different than usual. Number 4, the Yeezy 500 Hi Slate. For a long time, I didn't really like the Yeezy 500. I just didn't like the way that it looked. They kind of had this sort of insect-like feel to them, which I wasn't a huge fan of, and that sort of bug eye thing going on. But once I started wearing the shoes on a regular basis and just seeing them on my feet, I really started to like them a lot more. And then when the Yeezy 500 Hi Slate dropped, I was hooked. I never thought I would need or want a Yeezy 500 high top, but then when I bought this sneaker for the review and actually tried them on my feet, I was blown away. This is a really great shoe. This colorway in particular, the Slate colorway, reminds me a lot of a pair of Air Jordan 11s. I'm not sure what it is about it. Maybe it's the lacing system, maybe it's the cut, maybe it's the overall shape of the silhouette. But this colorway really looks like a pair of the Jeter highs. And honestly, even though a lot of people would see that as a negative because they feel like it looks too much like one of their Grail sneakers, I really like it because it gives this shoe a much more dressy look. Even though this is technically a boot sneaker and something you should probably only wear in the fall and the winter, it really looks like something you could dress up if you needed to. Maybe not to a formal event, but you sort of get where I'm coming from. Not only that, but the upper is just so well padded. It feels like you're sliding your foot into a bunch of pillows and they're just kind of hugging your foot and just, you know, keeping it safe, and it's the best. The midsole cushion obviously isn't Boost, it's Adiprene, but even though it isn't as soft and as cushioned as something like Boost, it still feels great underfoot. And of course, the other thing that I love about this shoe is the material makeup. They used really premium suedes around the toe of the sneaker and on the eyelets, and they've also used some really nice dark tumbled leather, which I didn't expect to be as nice as it is. They also replaced the mesh bubble things on the side of the sneaker with this nice padded neoprene, which I actually like the look of better. The Yeezy 500 Hi Slate, at least for me, was a huge surprise, and it's also one of my favorite personal pickups of the year. I'm also really surprised that it didn't sell out immediately when it dropped. I really thought this would be a shoe that would fly off shelves, but It didn't. Number 3, the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Clay. I never got this shoe. I never understood it. I never got why so many people love this shoe so much. And for previous videos, I've done a lot of research into which Yeezy colorways resell the best, and the Clays are by far and away the best reselling sneaker of 2019. Not even just Yeezys, 2019 sneakers. I've got to say, the reason I put this shoe so high on the list is because it's so insanely popular, and not because I personally like it, because I don't really. It's fine. I mean, it's a reddish brown colored Yeezy, like there's nothing wrong with it. And not only that, but when it first dropped, it was a regional only release, so it only dropped in the Americas, and then it got a wider spread release later on, so maybe that contributes to some of the popularity of this sneaker. But the reason that I don't personally love it is because it looks like a white Yeezy that was hand-dyed. And I know that's kind of like a stupid gripe, and it obviously doesn't matter what I think because this is the best-selling Yeezy of the year, but I just don't like it, and that's why I don't have a pair. I would love to know in the comment section down below what you find so appealing about the 350 V2 Clays, because obviously most people love it, and I just don't see it. Number 2, the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Black. If you don't know much about Yeezys, you might not understand why this shoe is so high on the list, because from a distance, it just looks like a black pair of 350s. And I mean, you're not wrong, that's exactly what it is, but it's taken 2.5 years for this colorway to actually come out. For Adidas Yeezy lovers, this shoe is like the Pirate Black V2. It's the clean and simple colorway we've been asking for from the beginning, and we've gotten a lot of one-color Yeezys, like the cream whites and the tans, and some more tans and the butters, but for some reason, we just never got an all-black pair, and finally, 2 years later, we have one. That's pretty much all I gotta say about it. It's a dope shoe. Number 1, the Yeezy Boost 380 Alien. At the end of 2019, we finally get a follow-up to the insanely popular Yeezy Boost 350 V2 in the way of the 380. And I genuinely think a lot of people were really surprised with how this sneaker actually came out, because it really is a pretty large departure from the previous 350 V2s. Yes, the material makeup is pretty much the same, and the overall shape is very similar, but it really has a very different aesthetic. I think Kanye naming the shoe the Alien is a very fitting name, because this sneaker looks like it's from a different planet. It's got this organic and crazy prime knit pattern on the upper, and also this super glossy midfoot panel that you can see right through. And then it also has this really subtle dark green pattern printed onto the midfoot, which I didn't even realize was there until I got this shoe in hand. Even though this shoe is different, I think it's a step in the right direction, because this shoe is much more comfortable than the 350 V2, at least in my opinion. The cut of the prime knit is a little bit better, so it doesn't constrict your toes the way that the 350 V2 did. Then they added an ankle collar, which at first I didn't really like, but then when I started wearing it, I got used to it, and now I think I might actually prefer it. But the largest change to this shoe that affects comfort is the midsole. Not only did they add more boost, which means you're going to get a little bit of a softer ride, but they also swept up the heel, which makes it much more comfortable when you're walking. The transition from heel to toe is much smoother now because of this change, and I love that about it. I also think that because they got rid of the ribs on the midsole, it actually makes this rubber a little bit softer, which means the boost can expand a little bit better than it could in the 350 V2s, which again makes it a softer ride. Visually, I think people are torn on this sneaker. I know there's people who love it, and I know there's people who hate it, but that's always kind of the case with brand new Yeezys, and I think once the shoe is out for a year, people are going to be in love with it. So the reason that I put the Adidas Yeezy Boost 380 at the top of the list is because it's an improvement over a sneaker that a lot of people didn't think could be improved. But that pretty much wraps up the list of the top 10 best Yeezy shoes of 2019. Now I would love to know your thoughts on this list and whether you feel like I left any shoes out. So let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and Merry Christmas.